Competing for your first time can be a little daunting, and I definitely found that out when doing the tactical games. How's it going, guys? My name is Jesse, and I am also with EOTECH, and I'm usually behind the camera, so this is a little weird. Chase, unfortunately, is no longer with us because he was caught smuggling HWSs in his pants and got arrested. Don't know why he was smuggling them across state borders, but you know, you live and you learn. Today we're going to be doing my AAR of the tactical games, or as Chase would have called them, AARP, because he's old. I competed in the tactical games down in Texas at YO Ranch. I did the intermediate individual, but it was inclusively a team event. There was about 20 competitors, and as you can see here, I finished 13. In this video, we're going to go over what I learned in my first competition and hopefully give you a little bit more confidence if you've been looking at doing competitions yourself into actually pulling the trigger, no pun intended, in actually going and competing. If you don't know what the tactical games is, it's more of kind of a fitness challenge involved with shooting. Some of your challenges just involve fitness, and some of them are a mixture of shooting and fitness, and some of them are just a little bit more shooting. It is usually a 2-day event, and majority of the time you're going to be running 4 events one day, 4 events the next day. When you're wearing a 15-pound plate carrier and potentially having a rifle, pistol, all of your mags loaded down, it gets very hot very quick. And that is one of the premises behind the tactical games, is running those situations in a high heart rate, high stress situation. That's why it's catered a little bit more towards your law enforcement and mill guys, but I am not either of those backgrounds, so I had zero confidence going into this in actually doing the competition, but I did it and now I'm here. Let's start with day one. Day one started with a pistol and rifle shooting course, mostly just a course of fire, not a lot of fitness. Gave me way too much pistol confidence, honestly, as you can see here. Cleared my right side and my left side pretty easily. Did the Texas Star for the first time and only dropped 1 round, and that was the only round that I dropped in this course of fire. Going into the rifle was a little complicated because they did not repaint targets, and my targets were from about 65 to 250. And when you kind of see out into the woods on gray targets, it's really hard to see no matter what you have. I was running a 1-6 on my rifle. Personally, I would run something different, which we'll go over here in a second. And I only dropped 2 rifle targets on that. Moving over to the next stage was a little bit more fitness. This is where I also learned that my fitness was not to the caliber that I would have liked it to have been, but it was good enough for me to actually compete. My next stage was more fitness. This was a quick stage though. It was only 90 seconds, and as you can see here, got a little dizzy. My last stage of the day was a little bit more of a longer stage. It was a minute of each iteration of what we were doing. So it was 1 minute eco bike, 1 minute of rifle shooting, 1 minute row, 1 minute pistol, and you continued that until we were done with our course of fire. Moving on to day two started with a 1 mile ruck with 30 pounds on my back. Did that in about 8:36, which I was pretty proud of, honestly. My next stage was a little bit of a combination of both pistol, rifle, and physical. It was a little bit quicker, but we were shooting steel, so I got a little bit more affirmation on my hits. My next stage was a lot faster. It was pistol and rifle, but this one was a lot more of your quicker transitions. This is where your speed reloads came into play and a lot higher heart rate, and you were trying to get this stage done as quickly as possible without missing your hits, obviously. My last stage was more physical than it was shooting. There was still shooting involved, but carrying 2 50-pound Yeti buckets on either side definitely kills the shoulders pretty fast. Let's go over what I learned in actually doing these competitions really quick. There were 5 main things that I learned. 1, my pistol shooting is awful, but I was running an E-Flex, which you should go get at EOTECH.com. I wish I had my targets because they were terrible, and I would put them on the internet. Pistol, I knew was something that I wasn't very confident in going into. I do train pistol, but I mostly train on steel targets, and with the tactical games, their paper targets are little bitty shapes that are about 4 inches, and they range from, most of my targets were about 10 yards to maybe 20 yards. And when you're trying to shoot a circle about this big and high heart rate, obviously, it diminishes your confidence really quickly when you start missing those targets. The second thing that I learned was with my rifle. Running a 1-6, I didn't have the clarity that I would have liked. The glass was fine, but going out to distances, I could not see my hits. There was only one stage that I could actually see my hits on paper, and it was about 45 yards. So it gave me a little bit more confidence to know where I was hitting. Other than that, I couldn't see anything, so I was just sending shots and hoping they hit. Personally, in the future, I would run one of these two. I would either run at least a 1-10, so it gives me a little bit more magnification. If I really, really wanted to compete and I know where my hits are at, I would probably run a 5-25. You might think this is a little big. Honestly, there's a lot of people that run 5-25 optics, at least in the tactical games that I know. Yes, this is a big optic, but like I said, running the 1-6, I was at 6 power a lot. So already being at 5, I was at my max magnification on my scope. This one, I'm already at my minimum magnification. So on those targets that are a little bit more, I had some out to 350. This gives me a little bit more confidence that I know exactly where my target is. I might not see my hits on paper at 350, but at least I can get a little bit more confidence on my shots. Still on number 2 with my rifle, I would like to know my dope a little bit more with the ammo that I was using. I had an idea on paper through a calculator what my dope was, but actually getting out and doing real world application and knowing where my hits are was an entirely different story. The third thing I learned was fitness. My fitness wasn't great. It was good enough to compete, but there were a couple of stages like you see here. This stage killed me. I don't know if it was my physicality that wasn't there or if it was a combination of heat and my physicality. Only being able to work out with my plate carrier and running or a kettlebell or sandbags, I don't know if that wasn't enough, but this stage definitely was the only one that I did not finish completely, and I wish I would have had a little bit more conditioning and physical strength to actually complete this stage. The fourth thing that I learned, especially with the tactical games, is doing my stage prep. The day before on Friday when we do check-in, we can actually go out, see the stage, see our rifles, make sure stuff is still intact after traveling and whatnot. They also put out a video of kind of what the stage is gonna look like. Day of competing, they will actually do a stage brief. So if I had Friday when I was checking in, I got all of my ranges that I could see. And then after getting the stage brief, if I had a little bit more knowledge of how I could attack each of those stages, would have been a little bit more beneficial to me. And then the fifth thing that I learned is just running my own race, not getting in my head and competing with the other people. Granted, this is a competition that you are competing with those people, but at least what I learned in the tactical games was the person next to me might finish before me in that stage, but later in the actual scoring, I probably could have beat them because maybe they had more misses than me and their time moved up. That's another thing between actually doing the stage briefing and getting kind of a stage prep and also running my own race is knowing what your penalties are and knowing what you can sacrifice. In 2 of my stages, I had 2 light primer strikes, and especially in the stage that I said was 90 seconds, I had 3. And in that stage, instead of, like you can see here, instead of me checking my rifle, trying to get that round to go, each of those misses was 2.5 seconds. I took way longer than 2.5 seconds sitting there checking my rifle, seeing what was going on. Instead, I should have just racked that round out, put a new one in, and sent it, and I would have saved myself a lot more time. Luckily, those light primer strikes were the only malfunctions I had the entire weekend. I had nothing break on me. None of my guns malfunctioned in any kind of stovepiping or anything. I had 2 other people that were in my group. One guy, his gun wouldn't even cycle with his ammo. And then another guy, his LPVO actually came loose and was twisting in his mount. So I'm grateful that I only had light primer strikes. I will take that all day. Now, after fully completing the tactical games and looking at the grand scheme of things and where I placed 13 out of, I believe, 24, 20 actually competed, I'm happy with where I competed and where I ended with in doing my first competition. Hopefully that gives you guys some confidence if you've been looking at doing either the tactical games or even any other competitions, because honestly, you're not gonna know where you actually fit or your actual attributes into these competitions until you do them. Anybody can go on a flat range, hit steel, hit targets, and be perfectly fine. But once you're actually in a setting, people are all around you, people are watching you actually compete, and you're on a timer, things change. And you might actually surprise yourself on your actual results. So as always, comment, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and Chase isn't here, but train hard and live free. We'll see you next time.